Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Dallas County Board of Commissioners work session. Today's Thursday, September 1st, 2022. Appreciate those that are with us in attendance as well as those that are with us online. We'll get right into the new business. First up, we have presentation requests to use county facility parking lots during the Mountain Moonshine Festival and use of transfer station following the festival. Care for Kids Board member Tom French. Tom, come on up, buddy.
Good morning or afternoon.
Oh.
It's like Christmas breakfast this morning and had no table, no chair. Nobody wants to sit with me. Okay.
Tom, would you turn the microphone on? Right
Just
there?
mash that button right there in front.
Thank you.
Right, there you go. You got
There
it.
you go.
It turned red. You did good.
I'm Tom French. I sit on the board with Care for Kid, and we are here to ask to use some of the county facilities as we typically do every year. We're asking to use the parking lot here, the library, health department. Trying to think whichever else.
That's
But
all that was listed, but
it's what?
that all that was listed on our information.
Everything that's listed on your
Mhm.
information.
It's listed through.
Okay, plus the ability to, at the end of the festival, to take and move our trash over to the transfer station. And just so everybody knows, there are no significant changes to how the festival worked from this year from last year. We're in there. We've already been approved by the city. We've been approved by the state. We've got all our ducks in a row with the school board. We just finished that last week. So any questions that I can?
Questions for Tom?
Is this any different about the transfer station?
No, we've done
It's
that. in the past.
always
Yeah.
done that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Sharon, typically what happens is we end up going back and asking David after the fact. And then Kristen asked if we would put it on the form this year. And that's the difference between this year and last year.
Yeah, I just don't remember it being, I haven't got a problem. I want the trash over there, but I
Yeah.
just didn't remember that.
Yes, Kristen, they just asked for us to put it on the form, and it's a smart place to do it.
Other questions for Tom? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we have presentation of Shop with a Cop fundraiser, Sheriff Jeff Johnson. Jeff, come on up.
I'm just here today to ask you to consider and approve a permit, a special event permit for our annual Shop with a Cop fundraiser. This will be a motorcycle ride. We'll schedule for October the 15th. It'll be approximately an hour and 15 to an hour and 30-minute ride, escorted ride. We'll start at City Hall. We're planning on it. Those permits are in the process with the city right now. But we plan to leave the City Hall around 10 o'clock and meet back around 11:30.
Questions for Sheriff Johnson? How many years y'all done this?
I
know it's
want to
been a
say
lot.
this is the third or fourth, but COVID did throw a wrench in it last year.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't tell from the route, it said that this was Dawson, Lumpkin and Pickens. But does it go into Lumpkin?
On 52. As we wrap up back around your place, we'll go up toward the Falls Pumpkin Farm and
Oh,
out
okay.
52 back into Lumpkin.
Oh.
the dog's back.
Okay, all right, okay. I get it now.
Other questions for Sheriff Johnson? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, we have presentation of RFP number 406-22 debris removal and disposal services results. Public Works Director Jeff Hahn and Purchasing Manager Melissa Hawk. Jeff, you doing that? Come on up.
Good afternoon, Board Chairman. Okay, this is in regards to the debris removal and disposal services that we've had. Slide 1, the county's previously contracted provider for services is under receivership. In the best interest of the county, the contract was canceled and rebid. An emergency contract was approved by the BOC with Southern Disaster Recovery, should it be needed until an award could be made through the RFP process. Thankfully for the county, this contract was not needed. Slide 2, bid was done according to policy. 6 proposals were received. Some of the scope of services are debris removal, debris processing, and documentation and records. Members of the evaluation committee were Chief EMA Director Danny Thompson, Division Chief and Operations Training Jason Dooley, and Public Works Director Jeff Hahn. The process was facilitated by Melissa Hawk, Purchasing Manager. Here you see the evaluation criteria and proposer scores and summary. Kind of hard to read. Here you can see the summary of pricing, which is a cumulative price of 48 line items related to the scope of services at the cost per unit measure. DRC Emergency Services offered the best option year renewal increase of 2% the first year and 0% for the years 2 through 4. The portion was not part of the weighted cost. Okay. And slide 7. This slide represents the summary of both technical and pricing scores. DRC Emergency Services total score was 83. And then move on to slide 8. Basically, staff respectfully requests the board to accept the proposal submitted and to award the contract to DRC Emergency Services. And note that this contract will not be activated nor funded unless the county experiences a disaster.
Questions for Jeff? This is something we routinely do, so.
Right.
I wouldn't see an emergency on this, but I don't know what they may be just,
I didn't know if they have a timeline on
yeah.
the bid process.
Your next voting session.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have presentation of 2023 payroll and holiday calendar. I think Vicky's gonna do that. Miss Christie's not with us today.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. I'm going to talk to you today about something that's near and dear to every employee's heart, and that's getting paid.
And the
Every-
holidays too.
That's right. We operate on a biweekly pay schedule, other than for the elected officials who get paid monthly. So there's kind of 2 schedules in one. There's the biweekly and then the monthly. So Christie sent you 2 separate calendars. One includes 2 additional holidays. So that would be something that the board would need to decide if they would like to implement those 2 holidays. But other than that, it's pretty much status quo.
And what were the 2 additional holidays?
One holiday is for Juneteenth, and that would be this year on Monday, June 19th. And also Good Friday, which is Friday, April 7th.
Questions for Miss Vicky?
No. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next up, we have presentation of appointment of interim emergency management agency director, County Manager David Headley. Dave.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. So at the last meeting that we had, we discussed the interim EMA Director assigning and appointing someone to do so. And that was moved to this meeting. Just to recap that under Title 38-3-27 states that the governing body of each county of this state may establish a local organization for emergency management in accordance with the state emergency plan. The executive officer or governing body of the political subdivision is authorized to nominate a local director to the director of emergency management, who shall have the authority to make appointments. So there is a need to fill the position of EMA director to ensure any matching funds for a declared disaster are not lost. This position will also provide day-to-day oversight of all hazards. So I'm here to recommend that Chief Dooley be implemented by the board as the interim EMA director.
Chief Dooley has been named interim emergency services director for now as well.
Yes,
So
sir.
this would go in line with that. One of the things too, David, that I'd like for us to do as part of this is name Lucas Ray as the deputy EMA director interim as well during this time frame, just in case we have a need for Jason to be sick and out. We wouldn't have to worry about trying to handle this with the state. They'd already have a name. So if that would be all right with the board, I'd like to add that as part of that as well.
If he agreed to this?
I think he would.
Is that sarcasm or are you telling the truth?
Well,
Does he?
the EMA director is already compensated in the emergency
The
service
salary.
director position, but we
That's
would
right.
need to come up with some kind of compensation, figure out what we would need to do there.
Which we have figured that out.
And we could do that for the deputy EMA director. Correct. And we'd come up with that. And so were you asking for this to be moved? Or
I would like for it to go ahead and be moved to the voting session night, just in case we do,
have something?
have something that comes up, it's already in place.
Y'all good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And we could figure out the compensation.
Yes, sir. We will do that.
That
Probably-
doesn't have to be done before we vote.
No, not
Okay.
far as the naming of them. It doesn't
Okay.
have to be. We can do that. And they probably have enough
We're
in their
doing out of
budget.
service pay.
They probably have enough in their budget to make it work for the rest of this year anyway.
Yes, sir.
So, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Mhm.
All right, next up, we have presentation of 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting schedule. County Clerk Kristen Cloud. Kristen, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. Commissioners, you have the proposed meeting schedule in your packets. Nothing out of the ordinary, best I can tell. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Questions for Kristen?
I'm not gonna be at any of them.
You better be listening,
I will. I'll
Make
be
sure.
pointing, you know.
pointing at the screen. Well,
Here in spirit.
you'll be pointing at Chris, I know. Taking him out. Thanks, Kristen.
Yes, sir.
Next up, we have discussion of pay increases for employees to offset inflation. My name's beside that, but Commissioner Satterfield had brought this up, a few weeks back. And we've gotten some information that's been provided to you that shows different percentages. And has you well aware that inflation in 2022 has been like 9%. And so, in an effort to try to maintain our staff and keep the staffs that we have and make their lives livable, I'd like to talk about one of these three proposals that you have in front of you and do percentage increase now. That would be, I think, the next beginning pay period is September 3rd. So I would propose that if you decide to do this, it would be retroed to September 3rd, beginning September 3rd at the beginning of that pay period, which is 2 days from now. That paycheck actually comes out like September 23rd. So that would give, I think, if you decide to approve that, HR the opportunity and finance to work through all the paperwork that has to go with that. And I think these numbers that you see here that you've been given, that would be, correct me if I'm wrong, Vicky, that's for the whole year. So that would be prorated for the remainder of this year. Obviously, it would be that number that you're actually looking at. And I know there was some discussion in reference to our elected officials. Are all of our elected officials getting a $5,000 pay increase January 1st? Okay. Because I'd want to include the ones that weren't getting it in this whatever percentage. And those that are going to get 5,000, no, they're already in the good. Or will be in the good, in my opinion. What does the board think of that? Comments from the board? Tim, I know you have some comments in reference to it.
I'd like to, I mean, I've talked about this in the past. The reason the county's in the shape they're in right now financially is because the people we got working in these departments. I know we set the budget and Vicky and Dave, they do a great job of monitoring what goes out and make sure people's not wasting our money. But the inflation's hit them and, if it hits us, we'll address it then, or whoever the board sitting up here will address it. I mean, we've faced it in the past where Dave has asked, and Vicky went to all the departments and asked them to cut back. You know, they can cut back on stuff they need as far as vehicles or equipment or desk or computers, because if we don't take care of our people, we won't need those items because we won't have nobody sitting there. We got to retain the people we got. They do a great job. We showed that last year when we put money back in fund balance. It wasn't us that saved it. It wasn't Dave that saved it.
He helped.
He helped by monitoring, same way with Vicky. They do a great job of looking at that money going out. So it's our employees that saved the money and watched what they spent. So I asked for this to look at after the first of the year, because if we wait too long, we're going to be right in the back in the shape we were in when we did the pay study, because we didn't, even though we did a pay study, I still think we didn't go all the way to the top of the pay study, because once we implemented the pay study, we were behind about 5% then with inflation going up. This will help. I think next year, the chairman's had some great ideas along with the county manager about merit increases. I'd love to see the merit increase also have the seniority attached to it. If you come up and your anniversary date's January and you grade out good on your merit, to get a merit increase, you should get if you've been here X number of years, you ought to be recognized and get a anniversary or a longevity increase also. So I'd love to see that. But I just appreciate the chairman and finance and HR about getting these numbers up.
Is it from fund balance,
Yes, ma'am.
general? Yeah. And you think we're talking about the 5? That's
Whatever-
where I'd like to see it. go.
5%.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Ms.
Yeah,
Ms.
I want to
Fawcett.
see it go.
Yeah, I know I had asked Christie, because she's not here, she wasn't able to be with us today, to kind of run some numbers based on the $1 an hour we gave at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
And I kind of figured that's probably going to fall around 4% for most people, somewhere in that average 4%. So if we gave 5, we'd be balancing out that 9% increase that they're seeing in their everyday lives. And then in the budget process, I will be presenting to you a number in reference to the merit that we talked about as well.
Mhm.
And so that would be in January. That would go into effect in January. So, talking to our department heads as we have, you got Sheriff Johnson here and Jason's here and some of our other department heads and Jeff, it's very difficult to hang on to staff. I think Jeff's lost a couple in the last couple of days. And so I think this will help us get in the right direction for maintaining that staff, because we've talked about it over and over again. There's really no need to open up new positions if you can't fill the ones you already have,
Right. Mhm.
and you can't maintain a staff. So ideally, we would like to get to where all the positions that the Board of Commissioners over the years have approved are actually full, so that we have a solid working in teams in every department. And so that's what we're working on. We have to work toward that. And as we talked about before, I've had conversation with our county manager and with HR about, getting together a committee again. Let's take another look at our benefit package.
Yeah.
Let's, and I instructed them that they could bring that to the board when they got it done. And we'll look at that. We have to be competitive all the way around, not just in dollars, but in other areas as well. So we need to look at everything. And I appreciate over the years that I've sat in this position, the willingness of this Board of Commissioners to look at all that and to make those changes to benefit our employees, so that we got a good staff and we can maintain a good staff. Because whether they work for the county departments or they work for our elected officials, they got to have bodies or they can't get the job done. And so it would be my recommendation to this board that we do the 5%. And it would also be my recommendation that we move that to the voting session as well.
Chairman, could I just ask for one point of clarification? In the employee handbook, there's a cost of living adjustment section, and it states that the cost of living would be applied only for those employees specified by the Board of Commissioners and who have a full calendar year of employment and successful completion of the working test or probationary period. So I just wanted clarification on that. I don't know if you intend to comply strictly with this or if you're looking to apply it more broadly to everybody irrespective of their time of service.
Chairman,
Go ahead.
in the past, I know we've given it to our part-time too, anybody that worked for the county. And Ms. Peak,
Vicky, listen, would you come up here? I have sat and watched this at home and you can't hear a word that people are saying back
I'm
there.
sorry.
So,
When you make this decision, if you would just clarify whether it applies to, like you said, part-time as well as supplemental employees, we always have that question. So, and also if you have a, like a longevity, like they have to be here 6 months or a year or whatever. So if you could just make sure that's clear, because we always
Okay.
get lots and lots of questions and
Yes.
everything. So,
well,
all right, thank you.
What does
speaking,
the
I guess,
policy-
speaking of the longevity or the probationary period, I mean, one reason we're bringing the salaries up is try to keep people. I'd hate not give it to them. They turn around and quit us before they even been here 6 months.
Mhm.
Everybody else a raise, they're gonna be upset that
Well, we could put in the motion that when they meet their probationary period, they would get the 5%. If you want to stick,
You could make that retroactive back to the first day. So if they've made the 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months in one day,
yeah,
if they come
then they would get it.
full time, they would get that 6 months back.
The other thing I will offer, the policy provides 1 year and successful completion of probation. So you're still talking about something that's not quite in sync with the policy. But the employee handbook is a document that the Board of Commissioners adopts,
Mhm.
and it doesn't require public hearing or anything like that. And so if you're so inclined, by motion, you could make that change to the employee handbook to accommodate what you wish to do. And so that's not something I think we typically would do in this quick of a fashion, but I understand why there's a reason to do it.
That's right.
These are sort of unprecedented inflationary
That's right.
times. And
It
so
is.
but I think I'd rather see you address it straight up, and just to Vicky's point, that we don't have questions as soon as you make your decision as to who it applies to.
Okay.
And we could amend that policy if you want to provide that it's just as designated by the board, which is what it says. We just stop there.
Yeah.
As designated by the board, and each time you do a COLA, you decide
Mhm.
if there's a
That would be
probation
good.
period or a year's waiting period or so forth.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So everybody's good with moving it?
Mhm.
All right. All right. Thanks, guys. Everybody who had a part in that. All right, next up, we have the county manager report, Dave.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners again. So with assistance from the Etowah Water and Sewer Authority, we are applying for a non-match or no match American Rescue Plan State Physical Recovery Funds grant for drinking water projects to support increased population. There's $400 million that's available to communities, and the application period ends on September the 9th. So we were wanting to make this again a no match, but to be able to move forward and at least apply for that. And that would handle again fire hydrant, that type fire suppression that we could use it for, that kind of thing. So we wanted to apply for that.
The deadline's when?
September 9th.
So we need to add that.
Yes, sir.
Questions to David in reference to that?
Yeah, it's a no match. That's right.
Who's taking the lead on this?
We
Etowah
would take-
Water?
We would take the lead
You
on that
would?
with Etowah, and they've agreed to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Come on up,
Vicky.
Vicky.
Get your exercise. We want people to hear.
I just wanted to add to that. We just met with Mr. Anderson just a few minutes ago, and it looks like they're going to request $30 million. And it will take water line up through Juneau, up past the fire station and down into the 400 corridor as well. So and yeah, and there'll be over 200 fire hydrants added So that's going to help the ISO rating. So he wanted to make sure you all realize that there will be a match, but not from the county. The Water Authority will provide a match, but there's nothing from the county. So just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Do we have
Yeah.
to do it in conjunction? This has to be a dual thing?
We have to be the entity that applies for it because it's only available to counties or authorities that fall under the authority of the county, and they fall under the authority of the state. So we had to clarify that today. We weren't really sure about that. But anyway, it's in the works, and the application will be made next week.
And it doesn't require a vote since it's a no match. So we were just, as part of the report,
Okay.
just let you know.
No
But
reason to
wanted
vote.
to, right, but just wanted to inform the board and
Okay.
ask,
Yeah.
and so the board was made aware.
Yeah, but they will come to you. If they do receive the grant, they'll come to you for an MOU, an agreement with them, and then you'll have to vote to
Yeah,
accept
then
it.
we'll bring it to you.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
We'd have to vote to accept $30 million. I'm punching no.
We
I
will-
don't know what's tied to them $30 million.
Well, I know it, but it'd be worth it, I
Thank
think.
you for clarifying.
Just grab it.
Okay, the second item I had, Commissioner, was that we are pleased to report that the Dawson County has maintained its overall ISO ratings of a 3. As you know, the ISO, which is deferred to as the Insurance Services Office, collects and evaluates information from communities in the U.S. on their structure fire suppression capabilities. The grading is on a 10-point scale, and the lower the points, the value, the better. And Chief Dooley reports he is proud that we have maintained our 3 rating, and that the chairman has sent you all the detailed report that came back. 1 being obviously the best. My understanding is unless you have 100% coverage and everything, is very hard to obtain a 1, and we're at a 3. So extremely proud of that rating.
We got that split class rating with a 310, correct? If you're outside the 5-mile radius, you're a 10 still, but that's not changed from years ago. So maintaining that 3 for everybody within 5 miles of the fire station was important.
That's correct.
They've also changed in the stipulation now.
Wait.
Come up here.
I'm gonna have to get my ruler out.
There's also, I was a little confused about some of the wording in here myself, so I called Verisk, the company that does the study myself this morning, and clarified that, yes, if you're within 5 road miles of a fire station, you're a 3. If you're 5 to 7 miles from a fire station, you're not necessarily a 10. They can classify you as something lower than a 10, but not all the way down to a 3. And then if you're over 7 miles, then you're a 10, which we don't have that many structures in the county that are over 7 miles.
That's why I was gonna ask you how many people are affected by that.
I think GIS could probably give us that information,
I
but
think we're
it's
at,
not that many.
we're probably 95, 96% within that 5-mile radius of a fire station. There are some up toward the top of 52, up toward the Gilmer County line that's
Right.
outside that. You got some people on War Hill Park Road that are outside the 5-mile radius of Station 2.
And also our automatic aid agreements with surrounding counties, those
They
stations
help.
counts are like Pickens County Station 10 counts. For the-
So that helps with our ISO rating.
It does.
Oh, cool. That's good.
Because actually, when you've seen the headline of it, it talked about Dawson Pickens as part
Yes.
of it, and that's part of that joint effort. Good job. Let's don't let it get no higher. All that stuff that you voted to approve is helping out.
Yeah.
The next item I had is that the county offices will be closed on Monday, September the 5th for the Labor Day holiday. And I also wanted to readdress a question that Commissioner Fawcett had at the last meeting, and that was in the key indicator report you saw in there regarding the awnings on the senior center. The reason for that is that we've been experiencing a little bit of water or wetness inside the door. They changed out from the steel frames to wooden, and that combined with the floor elevation was getting some seepage in there. So they went ahead and put an awning over top of those doors in order to protect that. So I want to readdress that to you to answer your question.
Thank you.
And they did a fine job of matching them to the roof.
Oh, I
Looks
know it.
good.
It looks
Looks
good.
Real good.
It looks
Yeah.
good, yeah.
And that concludes my report.
Questions for the county manager? County attorney report.
Mr. Chairman, I have no public report, but would ask for a brief executive session on potential litigation.
Thank you. All right, that takes us through our work session. We'll take about a 10-minute break and we will be back for our voting session. Thank you for your attendance.